How's it going, friends? Welcome to the Greatest City in the World podcast. Got something a little bit different for you today. Normally, I'm in my office in Kittanning. Today, in Freeport, Pennsylvania, have Rebecca Shearer here with Little Bean Bakery. Am I saying it right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She has a little in-home bakery in Freeport, and I think it's super cool. I saw your baked goods at 1833. Coffee and Tea here in Freeport, which is an awesome coffee shop. So you people in Kittanning, you need to get down here, spend a day in Freeport, try some baked goods, try some coffee. Also had a great meal today. There's good food down here. Freeport seems to be a little happening place right now.
It is. It's up and coming, I always say.
Yeah. So when I saw your baked goods in there, I said in the video originally, I was like, I got to meet the person that makes these baked goods, so we got to track that down. And then you messaged me on Facebook, said, I am the one that makes that stuff.
It's me, yeah.
So I thought, hey, let's do a podcast. And Marty set this up for us, so I think that's really awesome. And I just wanted to learn a little more about you because, to be quite frankly, like selfishly, I want a bakery in Kittanning. And I thought, someone could start out doing what you're doing, prove that it works first.
Yeah.
Then maybe get a storefront someday. I don't know if that's your plan at all, but if you like doing it out of your house, probably.
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Prefer that?
It's a lot less stressful than having to do baked goods in cases and things all day long.
Right.
It's a little stressful.
All right. So, well, tell me about yourself. I just want to learn more about you first, and then we can get into like your background before you did all this, and then how this happened. But just tell me about you first.
Okay. I'm a Freeport native. I'm about as native as you can get. My family's been here since like the 1800s. My family's buried up in the cemetery in Freeport. And nobody really left. A lot of people left and came back. So we've just been here for a really long time. So
that's really cool. So then you, I don't know, how did the whole bakery thing start? Like, what were you doing before, and then like, how did you end up starting this?
I went to school for social services, which doesn't pay a lot. So
yeah.
I was always in the restaurant business. My mom's a chef. So I had always worked in the restaurant business and doing baking and things like that with my family and things like that, because my family's German, Polish, and Irish, and all the good things that bake, all the good stuff. So there was always food and baked goods and things around, and somebody was always teaching me how to do something. So it's something I've always kind of done. But
yeah, that's really cool. And that's where we came up with bakery instead of bakery, right?
Right.
You said it's German for
it is
German for bakery.
Yes.
And where'd Little Bean come from, or Little Bean?
That's actually my son. His nickname's Bean, so we called him Little Bean when he was little, and that's how actually I started with the type of baking that I do. I don't do preservatives. Everything's local as possible and fresh, and doesn't have the dyes in it unless somebody wants, like a crazy decorated birthday cake. But
yeah, that's really cool. So then how did you transition from social work into doing the bakery? Like what caused you to like make that shift? I know you said money, or
it wasn't money, actually. I actually had gotten really sick.
Oh, okay.
And I just wasn't able to I did a lot of traveling with schools and different schools and in people's homes and everything. And at the time, I just could no longer do that. I couldn't keep up with driving all over the place and things like that. So my job essentially broke up with me after 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. They broke up.
They did. They called me in and had a very lovely conversation and just told me this wasn't working anymore. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, about 2 days later, my soon-to-be fiance was like, you love to bake. People always ask you for them. Our friends would order stuff off of me all the time and things. And so that's pretty much how it started. I just kind of jumped right in.
Yeah. So do you have just a child, or do you have others?
Just one.
Just
yeah.
one? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So does the Little Bean help you bake ever?
He does sometimes, and he's actually got a really good palate. He comes up with things. He has his own business called Lyle's Lemonade.
Nice.
It's all fresh fruit drinks and things like that. So usually if we're at a farm market or something like that, he's usually next to me with that. So
nice. How old is he now?
He's 10, going on like 47.
Yeah. So he's like, he's at that prime age. He's got the entrepreneurial spirit like you, and so maybe he'll take over someday. And
I don't know. He keeps on telling me he wants to be a paleontologist, archaeologist, but I'm not really sure how that's going to pan out.
That'll probably change over time.
I'm assuming, yeah.
That's really cool. So you started making these things. Now, I mean, where I know you sell them at 1833, obviously. Are there other places that you sell baked goods consistently like that?
Yes, I supply things for Derailers Bike Shop Cafe in Herman.
Oh, nice.
So I take things to them. I do stuffed pretzels, and she uses those there. And then I've done things in Saxonburg also, but I'm trying to do more down this way and to keep it local and things like that. So
very cool. So then you do those for regular things, and then you obviously people just order from you privately as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what all do you make? Like, what's the range of things that you bake?
Funny story. I started out with just cupcakes. I did gourmet cupcakes, and then somebody asked me to do something else, and I tried that. And then, so basically, the reason I don't have a menu, if you go onto my Facebook or anything like that, there's no menu because really it's almost everything.
Yeah.
I make pretty much everything. So
okay.
If it's not seen somewhere on Facebook or on photos that are there, it's probably something I do.
So you do like breads, cookies, cakes, pastries.
Cookies, cakes, stuffed pretzels, regular pretzels. Yeah. So
amazing.
We do a lot of wedding cookie tables.
Okay.
So
then how do you primarily, how do people reach you normally when they want to order something from you?
Usually most of my business actually comes off of Facebook, honestly.
Okay.
Social media and word of mouth has basically been key for getting everything going. So usually people message me on there or email me. Mm-hmm. So that's how they order typically.
And I didn't even ask you when did you start? Like, how long have you been doing this?
This year we'll be going on 7 years.
Oh wow, okay.
So we've made it past, and I say we, my mom and my fiance help me too.
Yeah.
In his other 2 jobs that he does, I make him.
So you're pretty well established at this point. Mm-hmm. You're not going anywhere.
Right.
That's really cool. I'm so impressed by that. So you have to bake every day, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. I get up around 4:30 every morning and bake.
So you have the baker schedule.
I do.
You just don't have to drive to work. You just have to walk down the stairs.
I just have to go down the steps. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm curious about that aspect of it too, because I know to have a bakery, obviously there has to be food inspections. You have to have a commercial grade kitchen, all of those kinds of things. Was that challenging, or did you kind of already have a lot of that stuff, or what all did you have to do to outfit your house to make it work?
We kind of had a plan when we purchased our home to do it. It happened a little faster than we initially planned because I had started working. I was baking out of Spoken Toads because it used to be Rish's in Server, and the bakery kitchen was still in the back.
Okay.
And at the time I started there wasn't a lot. He didn't use it very often. He got busier, I got busier, so we kind of had to move a little bit faster. So
sure.
Right now it's in a smaller space. But I had friends, honestly, that gave me shelving, and I had a friend that got a new stove, so she gave me her stove and
that's awesome.
And things like that. So I really have the best friends in the world that have helped me. Do that. So
well, that's the way community is supposed to work, right?
Absolutely.
You have an idea, your friends support you, and I don't know. Did you pay them back in cookies or something?
I do. I bake for.
Very good.
Because it was just, there was no real plan. It was just a very quick transition to that. So.
Yeah. So that's one challenge I know that a lot of people think about. But so you were able to just kind of cobble it together to start, and then I'm assuming you've transitioned some things over time. You've upgraded whatever.
Yes. Yeah. We the place that the home that we purchased, actually, the woman that had lived there prior to us actually had a hair salon in the basement. So I already had the separate entrance and things like that.
Oh, wow.
And the flooring was already tiled and things like that. So that was fortunate that helped out a huge deal that was finished off and done and
oh yeah, that's perfect. Okay.
Set up. So
nice. Okay. So that's one thing that's a challenge. Were there any other challenges or things that you, as you were setting things up, you were like, wow, I did not expect that, or this is way harder than I thought?
The space is always a challenge because right now our eventual goal is to move it into the garage space and finish it off. That's down in the future. But yeah, finding space for everything. So there's a lot of shelving and
you get a lot of orders going
stuck in closets, and there's foldable trays or tables. We have foldable tables, so when there's not as much going on, we can fold them up and stick them back. But
okay. Did you find like things like accounting and setting up EINs and all that kind of stuff? Was that difficult for you guys, or was it like kind of smooth sailing?
that was a lot easier actually than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
I mean, you basically just fill out a form and
Right.
that's about it. And then they send you your EIN via email. So
Yeah.
I was all stressed out about it, but it was really quite easy to do. So
Yeah.
it wasn't.
That was my experience too. Like
Right.
a lot of people get freaked out about that stuff, and I'm like, really, it's not a big deal. It's way easier than a lot of other things.
It is.
Like customer service is way harder than that.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
most people
Yes.
can figure that out. Like just be nice to people, but
Right.
but okay, so that's that. At Freeport, obviously you're a Freeport native. I'm assuming you always your goal plan is to always be here, doing that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you so you went to school here? Did you ever go away for college or anything like that, or you're always kind of around?
I went to Slippery Rocks. I did not get far.
Yeah, not too far.
But I moved away to Texas for a few years and then moved back. So
Okay.
I left and then came back. Like a lot of people, if you talk to a lot of people in Freeport, that's what a lot of people have done. They've left and come back to the area. So
So I was kind of curious about that. When you left, like, what was it that brought you back? Like, what was the...
well, I had my son, and the school district is just better here. The sense of community and kind of living in the country, but being able to have access to the city and things like that.
Yep.
So it's just kind of unique in that aspect where you can still have that small town feel and that country feel, but still be able to have, 20 minutes, you can get 20 minutes, half hour, you can get down
Right.
to the city. So
Yeah, and that's I always tell people about Kittanning, same thing, because it's like, well, 40 minutes I can be in the city, and 40 minutes I can be in the mountains. Like I'm like right in the middle, and it's a beautiful river town, just like you have here in Freeport,
Right.
And you're maybe even better positioned, like all these trails converging together. Like it's I think the future in Freeport is very bright, as I believe it is in Kittanning too. So
I think so.
So you come back to Freeport. How long after that did you start the bakery?
It was like 4 years, I think.
Okay. So then over
4 or 5
that
years.
course of like time growing up, then leaving, coming back, did you notice like what's shifted in Freeport over the years? Like what have you seen happen?
I've seen a lot of younger people come back in, and a lot of families move back in and take over some of the places. A lot of the houses that had kind of gone down a little bit with, elderly living in it and couldn't take care of it anymore. A lot of people have bought these beautiful homes and redone them, and businesses. A lot of younger people are starting businesses and opening them up and seeing the potential for the town to be.
Yeah.
And seeing a lot of people in town, like they have the Freeport Days every month, and there's just a lot of people out, and it's really nice to see that again, because there was such a long time where there was, 2 places open town, and
Yeah. And I feel like I've talked to maybe only hopeful people, but to me there's like a real like hopeful vibe of like what the future
absolutely.
holds. Like
Yes.
it's really really cool. So like what do you envision? I mean, in the perfect world, if you're a queen of Freeport and you could do whatever you want, what would you hope for the future of the town? Like, are you like what do you envision is going to be like the driver to move Freeport forward?
I think just the continuing of the younger people coming in and seeing the potential for businesses. I think that had shifted a lot. That was one thing I feel like was good about COVID, is people realized that they could work for themselves and they could open a business, and it wasn't as hard as they thought. And I think that shift has pushed the smaller towns, including Freeport, for people to open things and be like, oh, life's pretty short. I'm going to go ahead and do my dream and open. So it would be really nice to see it continue to grow and people work together in the community like they have been. So.
Yeah, that's what I see that's what I think is going to happen here, because it's kind of like the small towns for a long time. We always thought it's kind of a curse because like none of the corporations wanted to come. So like you couldn't get a Starbucks and you couldn't get Five Guys, and you can't get that stuff in Freeport because there's not enough population for the
Right.
corporations to look at it. But then it's like well, if we had Starbucks, we wouldn't have 1833.
Exactly.
And I'd rather have 1833 all day long than
Hands down.
Starbucks. And so, we're not going to have Five Guys, but we have a great burger place now here down the street. So it's like, that's what you'd rather see, a local business owner that cares about the town, that's invested in the community and
Absolutely.
that kind of stuff. So I believe that the suburbs are probably going to struggle over time because they're not going to have that community.
Right.
But Freeport's not, because the community's always been here.
Absolutely.
And the people that have made it through these past few decades, like, they're tough.
They are.
They're not going anywhere. If that didn't chase them away, they ain't going anywhere.
No, and they've been, and when you mentioned that, like, there's always people to help, all the businesses and everything, because I'm technically like right outside of Freeport, my house, my home. But I started down here, and I started here because George Wolf helped me get started. And, if I throw it out there that I need something or can't get a hold of something, Matt at the tavern will at Lock 5 will be like, hey, I can grab that for you at Depot, or see if I can get my truck to bring it in, or so everybody's just really helpful. Everybody wants to see everybody else succeed, so that's something nice, and that's what's going to hold this town together, I think, and bring more people in.
I totally agree. I think the future of small town America, like a lot of people said, well, it's dead, it's gone. I think the future of small town America is bright. You look at what's happening in big cities, especially through COVID. It's like living in Freeport looks pretty good these days compared to what a lot of the country is.
We could still go outside, though.
Yeah, I know.
I had friends that live right outside of New York City, and they wwere stuck inside like almost the whole time. They couldn't really go anywhere or do anything, and at least we were able to.
That's a literal nightmare for me. Like I don't want to live that life.
Same.
I need the garden. I need like neighbors. I need church family. Like that's my life. I gotta have that stuff. So, but anyways, so there's that. I think the last thing that I wanted to talk about was like just small business, entrepreneurship in general. If there's someone out there that has this dream, like you were kind of shoved into it.
I was.
You said you
I just kind of jumped.
You were like in the deep end of the pool, figuring it out. What advice would you give to someone out there that like has a knack for baking? They're like, I want to try this out. Like, what should they do to get started, or what encouragement can you give them to take the leap?
I would say absolutely to do it. It's not as hard as people think it is. Even the licensing and certification and things like that aren't as terrible. Baking's a little bit looser because you're actually cooking everything solid.
Oh, okay.
Rather than, like food service type things where you have to keep things at a certain temperature to sell it.
I didn't think about that. So that's actually less.
So baking is a little bit, definitely have a business plan, because I did not. And I would not recommend that to anybody. I just kind of jumped into it and find your niche, like find what makes you special. There, especially after COVID, there's 9 million people who are like, oh, I make cupcakes now for a living. So, definitely find something that you can do that's unique. A lot of mine's the German and Polish baking that I do. And I do my wedding cakes are very organic and there's not fondant, there's not a lot of icing and stuff like that, but that's kind of been a thing that people have kind of gone back to.
More natural.
Is more natural and more simple. So definitely find that thing that's yours and really promote that and do that. But other than that, it's just, it's not as hard as you think it's not as scary as you think it is either. Right.
I'm trying to think like back. I mean, if you were doing that even 20 years ago, it would be so much more difficult than it is today. Because now if you make something really good and you can put a good taste test or good pictures on Facebook and Instagram,
right,
you can sell them.
Absolutely.
So it's like easier than ever now, I think, to do that. And at the same time, it's harder than ever because everyone's doing that. But in a small town where you're not competing with 20 other bakeries for people's business, like, hey, I think it's worth a shot.
There actually are a lot of like home bakers.
Are there?
Around here, there are. So, but I mean, you just kind of have to stick with what you know. And, my thing is too that I do the farm to table. So everything's fresh. I have 7 farms local that I work with.
Really? Wow. Okay.
So it's a big community thing.
Well,
So,
now I have another question. How did you forge those? Like, how did that come about? How did you forge those relationships?
I just asked nicely, really
Okay.
honestly. No, it's funny because like one side of my family had owned a bakery in Trentham, actually, and then my other side of my family were farmers, so it kind of made sense to put those together. And I've
Nice.
always been really big on farm to table and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's actually something I did get picked up from when I lived in Texas. There was a lot more farm to table there 10 years ago as opposed to here. I was moving out of somewhere that didn't really
Right.
promote that very often. So I brought that back, and we always used these farms. It just made sense to have a relationship with them and use them, and we just kind of all promote each other. And it's definitely fresh. I mean, it comes from the garden into my kitchen, and it's baked that day, and
It's amazing.
you get,
Yeah.
and a lot of the menu things are planned around what's coming off that
Yeah.
day, what's getting harvested that day. So
That's so cool. I love that. I mean, it's so you're like rotationally. So you're not giving the same thing to 1833 every day. Are you bringing them different stuff all the time based off of what's available?
right now we're doing, basically they come up with a menu. So there was like a winter menu and there was a Christmas menu. So they have like holiday things that we do. But I think as stuff starts to come in, that'll be a little more, prevalent in the flavors and things that come. So
Do you ever give them like a couple weird things and you're like, here, just put this out there and see if someone tries it?
yes, but it does not. Yeah, it doesn't really go as well. Like they like it, but I did like orange date scones for Christmas, and they did not sell. People did not like the dates for whatever reason.
Wow.
So
That sounds
I'm
amazing,
going to try
though.
to ease them into some new.
Yeah, you got to bring some
Things.
of the German culture and make
Right.
it happen.
And I really like mixing like herbs and fruits, which people don't really think about too much, but
Yeah, that's definitely a more complex palette than most people are looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I like that stuff too.
yeah. I was told basil was exotic one time in baking. I made a blackberry basil pie, which is actually one of my favorites during blackberry season, and
Sounds good.
somebody was totally thrown off by that at one of the farm markets. She's like, I've never heard of such a thing. So,
Yeah, I'm one of those people that looks at the menu and I'm like, oh, what's the weirdest thing, or what's the thing that I've never tried, and then I get that. So,
yeah. To me, that's not weird though. Strawberry thyme is really good too. So
oh yeah, okay.
that's coming up. So
Well, I'll be looking out. We're gonna put a link to your Facebook in here, so if any of you are in the Freeport area, or I mean, how far? What's the furthest away you've ever sold something to somebody?
I did a wedding in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay,
So
so
that might be a little too far to drive cupcakes to, but yeah, we have a pretty good range that we deliver to, and there's a small fee for certain places outside of that. So probably about like a 10-mile radius we'll do
okay,
for free, and then after that we charge
but people can
For
come
gas.
pick it up at your place too.
at my house, or if there's a lot of people like a holiday, we usually pick somewhere. One of the local businesses will let us kind of hang out there and
Awesome.
and hand it off.
Okay.
So,
So Kittanning people, you can come down here. Freeport people, obviously, if you don't know her, you need to. And you brought some stuff with you.
I did.
Do we want to show these things?
sure.
Okay. So what do we got?
I don't know. Dig in.
I know. I mean, I saw the box of cookies. So
Right.
I have to like.
So those are we call those the almost famous chocolate chip cookies.
So I don't know if I
They
can.
were like they're a labor of love.
This looks
honestly.
amazing.
My family had owned, like I said, they had owned the bakery in
The
Toronto.
smell just hit me
so.
after I opened the box. These smell incredible.
But the thing that people said they liked best was the chocolate chip cookies. Everybody wanted their chocolate chip cookies. And kind of as it closed, it changed hands. And then they closed in the 80s. And basically most of the recipes went with it.
Wow.
Well, actually, all of the recipes went with it. So this was just me trying to figure out the closest thing by taste that I could remember from when I was little and bought them. So I've been told they were pretty darn close. So
This is an incredible chocolate chip cookie. So you guys
it's
got
the best seller, honestly.
Wow.
It is. If I go anywhere, those are the best seller, and they sell out at 1833 daily.
I can see why.
So
It's got like everything. It's like jammed with chocolate, a really good chocolate. And then you have a crisp on there, but it's still chewy and like soft as well.
Right. So there's two different types of chocolate in it. It's got semi-sweet and milk chocolate chips in it.
I was going to say, it tastes like it tastes a little more complex than just a normal cookie. All right, I would eat this whole box. She brought a whole box, so.
It's just a dozen, and I mean, it has eggs in it.
Just a dozen. Just a dozen. All right.
So it's healthy.
I promise I won't make you like watch me try everything, but I do just want to show off some of this stuff because it's really. So what is this?
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
There were scones and pepperoni rolls. Okay, so those are the pepperoni rolls you can get.
Okay.
And you can actually order those whole.
So how big are they when they're whole?
When they're whole, you get 12 slices that big plus the ends. So they're the size of a half sheet tray.
Wow. Yeah, these look really good too.
And they're baked.
I'm gonna tear into all this stuff after. I should just try it now.
But they're baked fresh every day. So
what's the last thing?
The last thing is the lemon scones, and those are also
really good too.
These are a top seller at 1833 also.
This reminds me, there's a place in East Brady. Have you ever been to East Brady?
I have.
So there's a place called the Old Bank there.
Okay.
And they make pepperoni rolls. It's like my favorite pepperoni rolls of all time. This reminds me of those.
Oh, well, that's a good thing then.
They're really good. Yeah. If I drive through East Brady, I can't not stop and buy pepperoni rolls.
Well, you'll have to let me know the next time you're in town. I'll make you a pepperoni roll.
Sounds good.
And some pretzels. We'll get you some pretzels too.
Okay.
This is the lemon scone.
Wow.
And these are also super popular. So they're on the spring menu and will probably be there for a little while.
I don't know if you guys can see all this stuff. I'll do a close up when I'm done. We'll cut it in. This looks amazing.
But those sell out pretty much every day too, I think. So everything was pretty much gone when I went in right before I came here.
So how do you
come early?
So like, what is what things did you have to change to like be more natural? Like, I don't know. I'm not in that world, so I don't know what all that means when it comes to baking.
So I use unbleached flour. I use aluminum-free baking powder. The sugar is an unprocessed cane sugar, and it's also a vegan sugar. Mm-hmm. So if I make something that's vegan, it's legit vegan. Like I use the sugar, and most people don't think that, but yeah, white processed sugar is not vegan.
What makes it not vegan?
So they use bone char to process it.
Wow.
And it's animal bones.
Okay.
Which, when I found that out, I'm not even vegan, and that grosses me out, kind of. So we use, I use the unprocessed.
Okay.
And I don't use, very, very rarely will I use an extract. Everything comes from, like lemon is the lemon peel and lemon juice, and orange is the same.
Really good.
Obviously, you have to use like the almond extract and vanilla and stuff like that, or if it's something crazy like bubble gum or cotton candy.
Right.
Which the kids love. I don't know. It's a weird cake flavor to me, but that's really popular with kids. But
we should do the taste test first.
No.
Because if you stuck around for 28 minutes, now you got to see like what's actually here. This is all fantastic. You're very, very talented.
Thank you.
So definitely try it. Follow her on Facebook. Get some inspiration. Someone in Kittanning, pick up this idea and just please start a bakery. And I'm open to anybody. Like I will help anybody that would like to try to do this or open. So you'll like mentor somebody else. Through it? Absolutely. Help them out? Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. All right. I'm not getting my chocolate chip recipe, but All right. I can share some tips and tricks. I make a good chocolate chip cookie, but it's not that good. It's not that good. This is incredible. So anyway, thank you for the time. Thank you so much for having me. Your story is inspirational. I think it's super cool. I think it's really, honestly, I think it's the future of business. Absolutely. Because you're like you've created this little community and you're adding to the community something that desperately needs to be there. So it's really neat. And the coolest thing about it is I've done everything. Like because I've been in it long enough that I've done people's wedding cakes, and then I've done their gender reveal cakes, and then birthday cakes for kids. So I've been in it long enough that I've actually been with families and things for a while. So that's probably one of the coolest things about it. So I can't stop now. We have to end this podcast so I can eat all these cookies. And ruin dinner. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, dinner's done today. It's pepperoni roll and chocolate chip cookies. But I appreciate the time, and if you guys want any more information from her, give her a message on Facebook, and make sure you try it. I think that's it. You got anything else you want to say? I think that's all that I can think of. I'll think of a million things afterwards, but yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys soon. Appreciate you listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right. Thank you so much.